viewers, receive our greetings and welcome to ACK St. Matthew Homily Session. And today I want us to talk about personal financial management. And the simple question we are asking ourselves is how well we are able to manage our finances well. This is a topic that is relevant to all of us, I believe, because we all have income and we would want to manage our income in a better way so as to get value and achieve financial independence. I would want to start with giving a practical example, and I want us to assume that we have two gentlemen that who have gotten employed at the same time, and both of them are earning the same income. We can assume that both of them are starting life at zero. If you give these two people or these two gentlemen a span of like 10 years, at the end of 10 years, they will not be at the same level. And what brings out the difference is all about how well each one of them is able to manage his personal finances well. Before going to probably the tips or ways that we can use to manage our finances properly, it is important that we define this term known as personal finance. What do we mean by the term personal finance? It is all about how one is able to manage his finances and plan his finances or plan his financial activities well. And we usually talk about 5 key areas of personal financial management. One of it is income, and one should be able to understand all the sources of his or her income. For example, if you are salaried or you are employed, the salary you get at the end of the month is an example of an income. If you're operating a business, the profit you get is an example of an income. If you have invested your money in probably shares, then at the end of the year you may get a dividend, bonuses, etc. All those are examples of income, and it is good or it is important for one to understand all his income sources. The other term or the other area of personal finance is all about expenses or how we spend all our money, and it has to do with spending our money in buying things like food or generally what we call consumable. And in these we talk about a good spending habit so that we can achieve personal financial management. The other area number 3, is all about saving, and saving is what we take to is the excess of our income vis-a-vis our expenses, and the excess cash or what we call the surplus should be saved so that probably in the future we can be able to take advantage of the investment opportunities that are available and probably use that money in another way. The 4th area is all about investment, and in investment we are talking about how one is able to invest his money so that he can generate money or he can earn a rate of return in the future. And one should be very careful when it comes to investment. And we have avenues we can invest into. For example, you can acquire a plot, you can build rental houses, and from them you'll be able to earn a return over a period of time. You can also invest your money in shares, in money markets, and there are so many ways or avenues where you can invest your money. And the final area is all about protection. Disasters strike, and it is good to be prepared. And in these, we advise the clients or the customers to think about the insurance product. For example, things like life insurance. If you own a car, you can take an insurance just to protect yourself. Having unpacked this term known as personal finance, then we can ask ourselves, how then can we be able to manage our finances well? There is no proven formula, or we do not have a formula that we can use or we can follow for us to be able to manage the finances well. But maybe we can talk about a few steps or a few ways that one can do right and achieve financial independence and financial stability. Number one, we need to evaluate our financial position or our financial status. And in this, you can use what we call a personal balance sheet to get your total net worth. And I know the question you should be asking yourself is, how is a personal balance sheet prepared? It is very simple. You just list all your assets, and you list your liabilities on the other side. And once you've done that, at the end you'll be able to obtain either a positive balance or either a negative balance. So if you end up with a positive balance, it means that you have more assets, and which is recommendable. But if you end up with a personal balance sheet with a negative value, it means that you have more liabilities than your asset, which is not recommendable. And again, still in this, for you to be able to have a clear understanding of your personal resources or of your personal finances, it is important that you prepare what we call a cash flow statement, and these one help you to know where your income is coming from and how you are spending your income. Having discussed that, we can talk about the other way, which is number two, and it is all about devising or developing financial goals. You must have financial goals, and financial goals can be of two types. We can have what we call short-term goals, and these one are short-term in nature, and they must be completed within 1 year. For example, you can have a short-term goal of creating an emergency fund. You can have a short-term goal of providing food for your family, providing rent, etc. The other type of financial goal is known as long-term goal, and this one must be usually takes more than a year. It can go up to probably 10 years. A good example of a long-term financial goal is acquiring a home, owning a home, and saving for your retirement, saving to start a business. Those are examples, or just a few examples of long-term financial goals. Once you have identified your financial goals, then you move to the other way, which is developing a budget. And a budget is a very important tool that helps you manage your finances well. In a budget, you're coming up with a plan of how you're going to allocate your resources towards your short-term goals and towards your long-term goals. In creating a budget, we make sure that one is able to live within his or her means, and thereby avoiding the impulse buying. Another thing, when you have a budget, you must implement that budget, and you must stick to it. For those who are married, it is important that when you're preparing a budget, you prepare both of you, and both of you should be fully committed towards achieving or towards following that budget. And this goes a long way in ensuring that we do not have conflict in the families, because a psychiatrist would tell you that one of the major sources of conflict within our family is how we are using our finances. Still on that, on the budget, it is important you revise or you review the progress, and if need be, you revise the plan, because things keep on coming. For example, you may have started a young family and you have a baby on board, then you need to revise the whole budget so that you can now incorporate the young one in the family. The other thing I would mention is all about creating an emergency fund. We need to be prepared for a rainy day. Emergencies do happen, and when they happen, one must be able to address the emergency, and therefore it is advisable that one should be having an amount of money equals to 3 times your salary, 3 times your monthly salary, so that in case of any eventuality, you can be able to caution yourself. The other thing I want to talk about is issues to do with debts. Debts are good and debts can be bad. So I usually advise clients or customers that you should not just keep off debts completely, but you should exercise caution. We have debts that are good. I would encourage people to go for them. For example, if you are taking a loan and you are using those proceeds towards acquiring an asset that will help you generate or earn a return, that is a good debt, and it is advisable that you go for it. But for bad debts, I would advise people not to go for bad debts. Bad debts, a good example of a bad debt is where by one take a long-term loan, and instead of taking those proceeds toward acquiring an asset, he or she just finance the recurrent expenditure like food, like clothing, like motor vehicles, etc. Those are bad debts, and if you do that, then you cannot achieve financial independence. The other thing is when you are doing shopping, you should shop wisely. Ensure that you do your homework well and know which places are selling whatever you are interested with at a cheap price. For example, if you want to shop for groceries, it is advisable you go to the market stores because there you'll get value for your money. If it is food items, things like sugar, things like wheat flour, etc., I would encourage ladies to shop them at maybe wholesale stores whereby you can get them at a discounted price. And finally, I would want to mention something regarding to the groupings or the social groupings that we usually find ourselves into. It is good to enter or to join social groupings because no man is an island, but be selective. Ensure that you join those groupings that have a clear goal and have a committed membership towards achieving their goal. Otherwise, you can end up wasting your resources in those groups. And it's always good to ask for advice in case you need one. And in my opinion, financial independence is not something that you can achieve overnight. It requires one to have a solid plan and work or be committed to the plan. Practice what we call financial discipline, And finally, we must work hard. So thank you so much.